I am going to bring up the panel now, our private cloud panel. DARRIN HANSON, Jeff DEVERTER, ARRIAN MEHIS. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to sit on the end. It's confusing. There's many of you in this private cloud panel. How is it that there can be so many of you? Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Absolutely. I'm DARRIN HANSON. I'm the Vice President of our Rackspace private cloud product that is powered by OpenStack. So our mission and purpose is to be the world's foremost experts in operating Rackspace or operating OpenStack private clouds. So we have deployed over 100 such clouds for customers globally of all shapes and sizes that are trying to adopt this technology for their business. Our very strong message for our customers is kind of exactly has been articulated by you and other customers that have been up here today, is to be your operating partner and send a very strong message that if you are looking to adopt this OpenStack technology, we feel like our customers should focus all of their time and energy and resources on the application development side, developing and repurposing applications to take advantage of cloud technology, and should have an operating partner like Rackspace to deliver everything from the API back and all of the infrastructure. OpenStack engineers and architects are very expensive resources to hire and retain if you can find them. So the benefit of partnering with Rackspace is that we have a depth and breadth of talent, people that have written books on OpenStack networking, people that have written books on OpenStack security, and a 7x24x365 team that is exactly ready to step in those exact moments where you need somebody, where you need help simplifying the complex, and that's what we do for our customers with OpenStack.
Great. ARRIAN.
ARRIAN MEHIS. I lead the VMware private cloud team at Rackspace. Similar to Darren, it's largely not known until recently that Rackspace is one of the largest managed services providers of VMware technology in the world globally, and that is articulation of VMware product at scale to our customers, not just reselling of licenses. In fact, we manage today around 47,000 VMware VMs in the world. Now, a small portion of that, of course, is our own internal VM management, but we're able to do that at incredible scale for our customers. We've been delivering VMware-based solutions and technology to our customers for about 8 years now, and similar to Darren, we've built up a lot of skill sets and scar tissue around how we do that at scale. But for a lot of those customers, it is about being an extension of the team. A lot of the customers have strong brand familiarity with VMware being one of the first virtualization technology solutions in the market today, coupled with a proven brand equity around fanatical support, makes for a great pairing and a very compelling use case for a lot of our customers.
My name is Jeff DEVERTER, and I lead our Microsoft private cloud practice at Rackspace. And our Microsoft relationship at Rackspace goes way back to the foundation almost of the company. Tens of thousands of servers run a Windows operating system inside Rackspace data centers. We've built up a practice in Microsoft applications around SharePoint, Link, Exchange, around our SQL presence, but it's a recent addition to our portfolio where we really are into the virtualization and automation layer of the Microsoft technology suite that allows us to serve those customers who are strong proponents of the Microsoft platform, who are running that inside of their data center, and want to run in a partner that they can use that familiar tool set, that they can extend out to a Rackspace data center using that same suite of technologies. So we're building out this capability in the process of launching it right now, where we can serve those customers from infrastructure all the way up through into their given applications.
So OpenStack, VMware, and Microsoft all in the same group.
All getting along.
Never thought we'd see that. Okay. So that must lead to a lot of very interesting conversations with your customers. How do you advise them? Are there any best practices that you can give them as part of the work that you do? And how do you help them make those choices?
Yes, the single largest message is to know your workload, know your application. It's one of the great benefits of this managed private cloud portfolio that we have with all of these technologies, that we're not just interested in selling you a product or a platform or how many OpenStack clouds would you like to buy today. It is a conversation that starts with tell me about your requirements, tell me about your application, tell me about your workload, And like I said earlier, if you are developing new applications to take advantage of infrastructure as code, or you are repurposing existing applications to take advantage of infrastructure as code, and you are going to build that resiliency into your application, then it's a very good fit for an OpenStack platform. I know that for customers, if they start asking me, how does OpenStack deliver this feature of VMware or deliver this feature of Microsoft, then I know that it's a conversation where I may need to hand them off very quickly to another one of these powerful platforms that we can host for our customers.
Absolutely. To use a Steve Jobs quote, really put the customer situation first and the technology second. So at Rackspace, we have all three, and we deliver that very well for our customers. And I would say 99 times out of 100, that decision is already made. So if they've already have an instance of VMware, they've been running VMware for a decade now, it's just a matter of getting out of the data center business or extending that data center. But more than likely, they have an iteration of all three technologies running in some capacity, whether that be for production workloads, dev test, or they're running Microsoft products. But the beauty is that Rackspace can deliver on all of those with fanatical support.
And I think also you want to think about, as we talk to our customers, what outside of the world doesn't revolve completely around Rackspace, but what are they trying to connect to in and outside of our data centers as well, whether those data sources might be inside of their data center, whether they're connecting into Azure clouds, into Rackspace public cloud, or other clouds for that matter. There are other data sources to be considered. There's you mentioned the brand affinity, brand equity that the customers may have built up over time. They're going to have staffs of people who are running any or all three of these different types of technology. And it gets back to, I'm really just parroting what these two guys have already said, and that is listening to the customer. At Rackspace, we like to think that we're going to listen first and respond with the appropriate technology that fits both the technology solution that will best serve, as well as what the customer really wants, what's going to serve the problem, the situation.
And so to that point, how then do you advise customers to choose between public and private cloud? So what becomes the differentiator for a private cloud?
I think it's kind of a similar story where customers have typically made that decision for us in defining out their requirements. I think the most obvious example for directional correctness is one that Paul Brenner from Notre Dame mentioned earlier, which is if you have burst workloads or peak workloads that you want to be able to leverage technology for short bursts of time, then the public cloud is a very good fit. As soon as you start spending tens of thousands of dollars per month to run base workloads in the public cloud, it becomes a much more efficient and cost-effective option to look at private cloud. You can be more selective of the size and types of instances, physical gear that you want to run in a private cloud. You get more flexibility. But the single biggest reason for enterprises and even born-on-the-web businesses to choose private cloud comes down to security and performance. It's because of examples like Target. I don't yet trust that I want my production customer-facing workloads or personally identifiable information to be shared infrastructure with other companies and other entities. I want my own private space for my workload.
I think if there's anything that Rackspace has learned is that cloud is subjective to the customer, right? So there's what might be public, what might be private, what might be hybrid. We can deliver on all three adaptations of that. But what we're also seeing is a lot of customers have overcorrected or overcommitted to public cloud. In the beginning, 3 years ago, plus it was sexy, it was cool, it was fast, it was inexpensive, at least the illusion of it. And thereby, a lot of customers have attempted to forklift completely into a public cloud scenario and actually have retreated back into more of a traditional private or hybrid where you have a combination of both. So I think it's the ability to, on the fly, have different consumption models of either something that's more consistent and recurring or something that's on-demand and utility-based.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's parroting what these two guys have already said. Is it a transient workload? Is it a dedicated workload? In the Microsoft private cloud, oddly enough, a lot of the products that go into running in that environment are going to be Microsoft-based products, which are going to be kind of old school, sort of enterprise-based applications. Think of your email environment. And while they are old school, it doesn't mean they're not any less important. We heard David Rosenberg speak earlier about how the most important application to Edelman Public Relations is email. I mean, he stood up there when I sat in the back and heard him give his presentation, his beginning of his presentation, and he started to talk about email. I saw everyone's shoulders sort of sink a little bit. Not very exciting, but when you learn how important that is and to the the depth of engineering that Rackspace has put behind her, making that environment run right for them. I saw all of a sudden start to see cameras come out and take pictures of what would traditionally be not very exciting schematic diagrams of what an implementation might look like for Exchange. And so, you know, public or private, do I need to burst into this environment so that Edelman can handle a large public relation issue and we can pull some of that stuff back? Or are we building for the norm so that we can ensure that every email that gets sent from any employee is delivered in, you know, X amount of seconds as defined by the company?
Right, so it's really no different than any other ITer, right? It's security, performance, it's business value, and then sometimes you overcorrect on some things. So I'm sure that all of you have war stories, horror stories, mistakes that you can probably share with us. What are some of the learnings that you've had along the way as you've built out private cloud at Rackspace?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the OpenStack being a 4-year-old open source project, has been ripe for opportunities to learn, to be sure. So, and that has come kind of with generations of our products. So our first big learning, working with customers, the very early adopter stages was large entities that wanted to deploy OpenStack, but they wanted to deploy it in a very customized way, or they wanted to develop custom features that got out in front of the community. And so the first iteration of our product was actually referred to as cloud builders. And we followed our customers down some very dark alleyways of customization of an open source project, and very quickly learned the folly that that represents. Everything that you build for yourself or try to customize or go off of trunk with OpenStack leaves you with no upgrade path, and everything that you create breaks as the community moves faster and more efficiently on without you. So that was the first thing we learned, is stay close to trunk and deliver something that is as close to that open source vision. Stay close to the community, because you'll get way more power out of the community than you will by doing custom snowflake clouds for your customers. So that was lesson number one. The second generation learning was, you know, we really, in the early adopter phase, we built a reference architecture that was aimed at just getting people to play with the technology. And so some of the things that we did was focused on low cost to entry. And so we made some decisions relative to the way that our controller nodes were built out on, you know, 2 physical devices, with all of the OpenStack services running on 2 physical devices, with master-slave failover. And it was never going to be as stable and scalable as we needed to be for enterprise production workloads. It's working very well because we've done some amazing, elegant things with a lot of the underlying software, but everything that we're doing now is based on stability, scalability. You talked about people being as interested in risk aversion as they are cost aversion. We have built everything into a service that now we can stand behind for our customers and say we can deliver 99.99% API uptime, or we will pay our customers a penalty for not meeting that SLA. So that was another huge lesson, was build an enterprise platform, even though it may be, you really have to be willing to make a large investment up front to get a large cloud off of the ground, and it's really not meant to be it's not really a sandbox or a toy to work with off the side. You really have to go all in on cloud technology.
Absolutely. I think from the VMware perspective, it's probably, I'll be the first to say, no surprise, but any successful managed services provider that is still around today, it's not an easy thing to do at scale, at success, and still deliver value to the customer. So I think from a VMware perspective, it's probably not doing enough with it, which we're quickly accelerating with new VMware technologies such as vCenter, vCloud, both shared and dedicated iterations of that. So our offering today still has a tremendous amount of value for our customers. It's effectively just server virtualization, and we probably kick around 700 VMs per month, and that business still continues to grow, and customers still find a lot of value, again, pairing that, the brand equity or the proven technology that is VMware with fanatical support. So I think we're going to accelerate that very quickly in the next 24 months.
And for us, I think I'd go back to, Michelle, what you had pointed out earlier as you listened through the different presentations today, and that is make sure that as you're talking to your service provider, that it really is a partner-based relationship, and listen and allow yourself to be coached by the partner, but to that extent also, you know, don't allow yourself to be bullied by the opinions there as well. You know your business, and make sure that the solutions being presented are ones that are in keeping with your business goals and your business needs.
Right, so I heard again a lot today about expertise, right, and experience in getting to cloud, and how that is very much part of the Rackspace culture. So again, as part of these learnings, I'm sure you've gotten some really hard questions along the way. So how would you advise everybody here if they were to ask some hard questions of some providers as they're trying to pick the right partner? What are some of those questions that you should be digging for and things you should be looking for?
Well, I think that whole concept of every customer that we are working with is on a journey that has been described here today. You know, James Staten earlier was talking about the journey from the optimization of the client-server platform and everything that's gone into virtualization, all the way through the refactoring and new application development going into cloud environments. So for me, I would express to customers to make sure that whatever partner you're choosing can go with you on that journey from end to end and can stay out of a lot of the, you know, can be to a certain extent agnostic about the technologies and be able to talk you through everything from VMware, Microsoft, OpenStack, private cloud, public cloud, and give you every opportunity to optimize based on that whole end-to-end continuum from traditional virtualization all the way to being able to leverage public cloud. That's one of the things that we are so proud of from our company standpoint, is the ability to be that hybrid platform where we can go on that journey. Wherever you are on that journey, we've got the talent and the expertise to help you to the next step.
Absolutely. I think you know, be sure to really dig into what matters most. Workload, SLAs, support, extension of that team. There are loads of, you know, as challenging as it is, there are loads of service providers that are out there today, cloud platforms that are out there today, but also a lot of those are commodity. And you know, even though the allure of pennies per hour might be compelling, the reality is when it comes to it, or perhaps you are running on that platform, and all of a sudden in the earlier presentation where you see the true cost of what it takes to operate that environment, and you cannot move, you cannot escape, you can't get out of it. So I think it's important to have that trust with your provider, but also have choice, right? Choice to move about technology. We at Rackspace fully embrace that technology is always going to change. It changes every day, especially in our industry every 3 months. So Rackspace will never penalize you for evolving within, right? And it's certainly something we want to perpetuate for our customers.
So I think for me it would be, it's really easy to get excited, you know, talking about all things cloudy. So, you know, Darren talks about, you know, things off trunk, and these are terms we don't use in the Microsoft or even the VM world, and it's cool to hang out with these guys who do use those terms. And as somebody who's interested in buying these types of services, what I want to impress upon you is that these clouds are only as strong as the data centers in which they ride, right? So house is only as strong as the foundation that it sits on. And so while open source technology, VMware technology, Microsoft technology from a cloud perspective really is only, I'll call it less than half the battle, because if that data center, if that internal managed hosting capability isn't up to par, then the cloud fails, right? I mean, you can't have the cloud fail. It doesn't matter, Darren's 100% uptime on the net or on the API is only as good as the data center that API runs in. Mm-hmm. And so as you're looking and evaluating at cloud providers, don't forget about the fundamentals. Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's breadth of service, it's flexible terms, right? It's good, hardened infrastructure. Does customer service still matter in the cloud?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your slides say so.
Yeah. It goes back to operating partner. I have a customer that was very, very hard on us and challenged Rackspace in all sorts of interesting ways on this exact journey. And he recently pulled me aside, having never paid us much of a compliment before, and said, the reason that I choose you is because you are there at a moment's notice. You are there when we are at our weakest, most vulnerable point. And when we find ourselves in a situation where there's an outage or there's an incident, whatever's happening, you know, Rackspace is the partner who is trying to figure out what resources they need to bring to bear to solve the problem. You never turn it around to what, you know, my role in getting it wrong. You never pull out the contract and tell me how much you're going to have to charge me per hour to help me get out of this predicament. You are flexible, you are fanatical, and that human element, that ability to bring the right expertise at the right moment when a difference needs to be made is, I think, why customers choose Rackspace.
Thanks so much. Great panel. Thanks for the insights. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for hosting the panel for us. Thank you very much. Thanks, Darren, Jeff, ARRIAN, thank you guys. And thank you for being a great audience today. We have one more presentation.